Hello everybody, it's Brett here, Lionheart84, and I'm out here in the garden on another blustery day. This is a Sunday. We've had a short break in the rain and I haven't really been able to get any videos made, but I thought I'd come out and do a persimmon only video because I haven't really done one that's dedicated completely to my persimmons and to showing the sort of varieties I've got, the sizes they are and the sort of pots they're in. So I thought I'd do a quick run through on the varieties I've got. Now the only problem I have is that some of these are probably might be duplicate plants, because when you're buying these from various nurseries they have a tendency of using labelling them incorrectly, and sometimes, as you'll see with one of them, the grafts haven't worked and they've sold the rootstock. In other cases some persimmons do seem to have synonyms depending on which country you're in. So I thought I'd run through them anyway and show people what I've got. I won't specifically say which ones are Asian and American, because in some cases I can't remember. So going through them in order, the first one we're going to look at here, this small one is meant to be a Nikita's gift. Now I'm trying to remember who this one there. This one came from a company called Penard Plants. If I can remember who they came from, I will say, because it may help people who are trying to locate them. This is in quite a small pot. Now behind it is a much larger plant. This one is a Chocolateino, which is definitely an Asian persimmon, and according to that this one's grafted on a Lotus rootstock. This is quite a large plant. This is sort of getting on for 6 feet tall in the pot, so I am hoping that might get some flowers on it this year and the possibility of a fruit. No idea what the Chocolateino is going to be like, but we'll see. Moving on to the next one, this one here, which I think I bought in winter 2018-19, is a Burton, which is an American persimmon. That's a Virginiana variety. Again, it's got to a decent size. May well be some of the flower buds are quite swollen. It could have some flowers on it this year. It's a little bit small to fruit, but as my experiment is completely container based, I am hoping to get some. Now down here we have one called Dukas. Oh, sorry, by the way, I know what I forgot to say. The Burton came from the Agroforestry Research Trust, and the Chocolateino came from a company called Flora Toscana in Germany. Down here we've got a little Dukas. That's SZUKIS. That came from a random eBay seller in Ireland. Can't remember the name of the company because they weren't a normal nursery. That was one that didn't grow at all when I got it, and then all of a sudden it produced some side shoots, so that seems to have survived. Next one on the front here is a Kostata. Now that one also came, I think that came from Agroforestry Research Trust, that one. These ones, the smaller ones, obviously I've got in smaller pots. Now this next one here came from Penard Plants, and this was meant to be a proc, but there's no evidence of any graft on the stem, and I believe the graft died and the rootstock continued growing, and I had a very small dark sort of orangey brown fruit on it last year, smaller than a cherry, which is in some of my old videos. So I believe this is a Lotus rootstock that has survived the graft. Now the next one at the back there is a Garrettson, which is another American pawpaw. American persimmon. That's a Virginiana variety, and that came from the Agroforestry Research Trust. Moving along to this one in the middle behind here in the black pot. This one is this is now where there's a question over naming, because this one was bought from, I think this came from Agroforestry as well. Now this was bought as a Russian beauty, but I believe that's a synonym for Rossianka, which excuse me, fine, because I'm quite happy to have a Rossianka because I couldn't find one for sale. So it's Russian Beauty, but I believe Rossianka translates as Russian woman, so I think that could be the same plant but simply under a different pseudonym. Now, going to the next one at the back there, that variety is Hana Fuyu. That is one of the Fuyu varieties. That's an Asian persimmon. Hana Fuyu, I believe, is a slightly different size to Fuyu, so we'll see how that goes. That's doing quite nicely. That one came from agroforestry. Then the next one along, which also came from agroforestry, is a hybrid. Now that's called Mount Govala, and I think it's also called Gorago, if I remember rightly. That will be probably a Ukrainian hybrid. That did very well last year. That grew very strongly. You can see it's had between 2 and 3 feet of growth on it, so I'm very pleased with that one. Now the next one we've got here, which I've just bought, which one of the bare root ones I got recently, is called Russian Red. But I've also heard several experts have said that that's a synonym for Nikita's Gift, so I could have another Nikita's Gift there. They said naming of persimmons, like figs, can be a bit variable because they do tend to have different names in different countries, especially sometimes in America they use a different name to the European nurseries, and you never know if the nurseries have got them correct anyway. Next to it, a very decent sized one, is a Gyro, which is another Asian persimmon. Now this is the one that produced 2 very small persimmons for me this year, the first ones I've had, so that was very exciting. And that one is from Flora Toscana in Germany. Moving along here, this larger one is a Rojo Brillante, which is known as Rojo Brillante in most countries, but that of course is Spanish and translates, I believe, from Brilliant Red. This one's got some lovely branching growth on it, and I'm expecting to see flowers on this one this year. Now this one came from a company called Gardening Express here in the UK. They had them on sale when I bought them. They were, I think, £79 reduced to £39, which for the size of the plant was fantastic. They may be up at £79 again at the moment, but I'm sure they'll reintroduce their discount in the spring. Next to it I've got a Fuyu. This is a normal Fuyu, plain Fuyu, allegedly. And this one came from Thompson & Morgan. This is the one I've probably had the longest, but it was very small when I bought it, but it did quite well last year. Next one along to it is a Highchair. Had this one just a short while ago, so obviously I'm hoping when it gets to the spring it's going to grow. We won't know to the spring what happens because I've only just bought it as a bare root one. That came from a UK grower which I can't remember the name of at the moment. They sell a few each year. Next one along, I've got another Hana Fuyu here. I saw this online on eBay on winter 18/19. I think I bought it in about February 2019 actually, and I thought, well, I'd like to have another one because I might find somewhere to plant one of my Hana Fuyus in the ground. And that was quite a nice sized plant when I bought that. You can actually see that's the growth it made last summer, so about 18 inches of new growth it made from bare root, which was quite satisfying. So coming back along the front here, which ones have how far have I got? Okay, so this is we got as far as this one. This one here is a Tamcam. I think that was another one from, I think that came from Pennard Plants, that one, if I remember rightly, the Tamcam. Next to it we've got a Burton and Ashe. I think that's one of the Asian ones. These are recent purchases, so they're obviously still, as you can see, completely dormant, and we won't know until persimmons, when they've been freshly planted, they don't like root disturbance and they can be really slow to get going and sometimes don't leaf out until late June or July, so fingers crossed that's going to be okay. This one is a Tipo. believe that's another Asian one, Tipo. I think that might have come from Bakkers in Holland. I'm not 100% sure. Can't always remember I get these plants from. Now I've got one here which has been called Fofo. I'd never heard of that persimmon before. Don't seem to be able to find much about it online, so again it's possible that it's a synonym for another variety, but still nice to have the plant here and see how it goes. They all look as if they're going to be okay in the spring, but these are all reasonably fresh purchases. And my final one is a muscat. I think that's I think it's all my persimmons now. It gets a little bit hard to remember which ones I've looked at. I've got in total here around 20 persimmons, so there is a mix of hybrids, and there are some Asian ones, mostly Asian, and I've got a few pure American ones which I'm hoping will be more inclined to produce fruit here in our cooler summers, because we get shorter, cooler summers. Obviously I'm hoping to get some fruits on the American ones because they tend to produce a smaller fruit, and they're more acclimatised to sort of cooler parts of America. The Asian ones, who knows. But anyway, I had 2 small gyros next year, but it's, most people would be growing their persimmons in the grounds, but obviously I've decided to go the route of container growing as an experiment. And you can see the different sizes. I mean, I've geared the sizes of the pots up to according to the sizes of the plants that I've bought in their rootstocks, but gradually they will all go up into larger pots, and eventually I should end up with them in about probably 15 to 20 gallon containers, and then every 2 or 3 years I'll repot them and see what happens. I don't know how long the experiment will be successful for, because everyone says you can't grow persimmons to a decent fruiting size in containers, but I like to be difficult, so I thought we'd have it go and see what happens. Anyway, that's my persimmon only video. Oh, actually I've just got one more I will mention while I'm doing it. I have got one in ground, which was the very first persimmon I bought, which is at the back there, and that is an unnamed Kaki. That came from Burton nurseries. They just sell, I presume they're seed growing persimmons. It is an Asian persimmon, apparently a Kaki, but there's obviously no way of knowing if it's ever going to flower or fruit, no way of knowing if it's going to have male or female flowers, or the self-fertile ones, because if you grow persimmons from seed, a large proportion of them tend to be male flowers only, which obviously is no good for fruiting. But this has got some really strong low down growth on it, really forming a nice network. It's sort of growing as a nice bush. The upper branches weren't very good when I got it, but as I said, that's an unnamed one which came from Burton nurseries, so it'd be interesting to see if as that develops, as it's in ground, it might grow bigger and faster than the others, and then I'll have to keep it pruned to shape. But I'll be looking forward to seeing if I get any flowers on it eventually. So anyway, that's a full rundown of my persimmons only. I think I've got about 20 in total of named varieties, although I suspect 2 or 3 of them may turn out to be duplicates because of the confusion over synonyms with persimmons from country to country. Thanks for watching, everybody. Sorry it's a little bit longer than some of my other videos, but it took a while to cover 20 plants. Anyway, out for now. You're welcome to click like on the video or give it a thumbs down. I won't be offended. Please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, because I'm trying to build it. I've got about 250 members, and I just enjoy answering people's questions or comments. So if I get a few more members, I shall get a few more questions. Catch up with your next video. Hit the bell, of course, if you want notifications of future videos. But that's my ridiculously large persimmon collection. I might have the widest range of varieties in the UK, but I'm hoping that I'll stumble across someone who's got more than me, because it'd be interesting to share notes with them. Catch up with the next video. Brett out for now.